Today I'm going to make some what I would call savoury pinwheel scones as a side dish for a dinner or as an afternoon tea. And I'm going to do a couple of things before we get going on the dough. I have 4 slices of bacon here, and I have a microwave safe plate which I have laid a paper towel on, and I'm going to cut the rind off the bacon like so, and I'm going to lay it on the plate. I'm going to put another paper towel on top of the bacon, and I'm going to microwave it. Now it can take a couple of minutes or it could take 4 minutes, so we just do it slowly. So I'm going to start just by doing it for a minute and then check it. I've got a little piece extra there, so I'll just pop that in the middle. You can get quite inventive with these pinwheel scones. I will quite often make them into Chelsea buns and make them sweet with brown sugar and cinnamon and sultanas and what have you, and then glaze them afterwards. But today I want to make savoury ones. Okay, I have another paper towel here, which I'm just going to sit on the top. It just stops it from splattering everywhere in the microwave, and I'm just going to microwave them on full for 1 minute, and then I'll check them. Now I've actually put that bacon in the oven for 1.5 minutes before I check it. Now I've also got half a chopped onion in this little microwave safe bowl again, and I'm just going to put a knob of butter in with it, just about yay big, I would say maybe a teaspoon of butter. It's just to soften the onion to help it cook, make sure it's cooked all the way through when we bake it in the oven. I should also say that I have put my oven on to fan bake at 160 degrees. I'll just leave that until our bacon comes out of the microwave, and I can do that. Now I've got those two ready. Next I'm going to grease my tin. It's obviously an oven-proof tin. Sorry, you should have that ready. I'm going to take a small bit of butter, about a teaspoon again, and just grease my tin. Don't need to flour it for this. This is just to make sure they come out. It does help them brown up a little bit on the bottom as well. I like this tin. It's probably, I would think, about 20 centimetres in diameter, maybe 22. But it's a good size for what I'm doing. And I have heard the microwave click off, so I'm just going to pop that aside and check my bacon. Okay, you can see that the paper towels have soaked up some of the grease as well. And that is actually cooked enough for what we want, because it's going to get cooked in the oven as well anyway. So I'm just going to take them off the plate, put them on my board. They're not actually that hot, they're not too bad. And like I say, a lot of the grease and fat has gone into the paper towel, which is good. We don't really want to eat all that. Okay. Just wiping some of that excess fat off the plate so that I can chop my bacon and put it back on the plate just to rest. Just going to chop it into smallish pieces, not too small, but just about so big, really. Should really do this 2 at a time. It'll be a little bit quicker. doesn't have to be exact. I'm just going to chop those in half because I think they would be a little bit too big. Those two are okay. Okay, done. Now I'm just going to wash my hands and wash my board, and in the meantime I am going to microwave that onion with the teaspoon of butter in the microwave for 1 minute on high. Right, you can see my onion has just come out of the microwave. It's just made it a little bit soft. So, like our bacon, we're just going to set that aside. And we're going to make some dough. It's really the most simple pizza dough you could make. And I'm going to use it for my buns, which I find it to be just as good. If I was making it for pizzas, you would probably get 2 pizza bases out of it. In here I have 1 3/4 cups of wholemeal flour. You could use plain flour, self-raising flour. I'm going to use some baking powder to add to this. If you're using self-raising flour, of course, you wouldn't need to do that. Okay, but I'm going to put in 2 level teaspoons of baking powder. Give that a little bit of a mix around, just so the baking powder mixes in. Now, I have some Greek yogurt, just natural Greek yogurt or plain Greek yogurt, nothing flavoured. And we're going to add 1 cup of this yogurt to our flour mix. It's a lovely thick yogurt, that's why we like Greek yogurt. This is the best dough mix for pizzas and the like similar, because there's no waiting for yeast to rise or anything. It's just straight into it. So I'll just take the spoon out of here, put my cup of yogurt in. Sometimes you will find that you need a little bit more, and sometimes just the 1 cup is enough. If you do need more, which we'll see if I do or not, it's usually just 1 heaped tablespoon is generally enough. I'm going to take my jewellery off because I'm going to get my fingers in there in a minute. And I just flick the flour on top of the yogurt just to get it started, otherwise it ends up in a lovely gooey mess, just so that it gets mixed in. And now this is where you really just have to work at it, because you're going to end up with, or you're planning to end up with, a dough. And so you can see it coming together, and the more you mix with it, the easier it will be. You can get your hands on there and get it going as well, but I generally find that if I do most of it with a spoon, I can, see if I need any more yogurt, and 2, it's just less messy than getting your hands stuck in there all the time. So, because yogurt is a very sticky substance, of course, and you can end up in a huge mess. But you can see that is coming together. Just keep working it. And I think that is probably enough yogurt. So I've got that almost into the dough. I'm going to get rid of my yogurt. And on my board, I have some more wholemeal flour. Just give it a good sprinkle over. And I'm actually going to put my fingers in there now and get it to bind a bit more, just to squish it together. I know it looks like there's some extra bits on the bottom and you might think, gee, I need some more yogurt. No, you probably don't. You just need to mix it in a bit more. If you had a lot of flour, if you couldn't incorporate all that flour in, then yes, by all means, use some more yogurt. But what you'll end up finding is that when you put it on the board, you'll be needing a lot of flour in it to get rid of the excess yogurt that you've put in there. See, so I've pretty much got all of my flour incorporated into that. So I definitely didn't need any more yogurt. That's good. Okay, put it on my board, give it a little bit of a knead, not too much, you don't want to take the air out of it. Make sure that it's all got plenty of flour on the board so it's not going to stick to the board. I also have a rolling pin and I'm going to put a little bit more flour on my rolling pin. And I'm going to roll out my dough. I'm aiming for a rectangle, probably about the size of my chopping board actually. Don't want it to be too thin because we want it to be nice buns rather than pastry. Like for, if I'm doing pizza, I tend to roll it out a bit thinner because we like our pizza dough thin, but that's purely a personal preference thing. So just no lumps in the middle, fairly even. That's about big enough. I've got yucky hands again, so I am going to quickly wash my hands. I'll be back in a second. Okay, I've come back with clean hands. I have a little pot here and I have some tomato sauce, just everyday tomato sauce, and I also have some maple flavoured syrup. This one happens to be honey maple flavoured, but just plain maple is fine. I'm going to take the lid off, actually, it will be a bit easier. Sorry, I should have given that a bit of a shake because my tomato sauce goes a bit runny. There we go. So 1 tablespoon of each is plenty. I have a pastry brush here, easy to get the excess out because we're going to be using the pastry brush anyway, and the same with the maple syrup. And I'm just going to mix that together to combine it. It'll end up with a nice, little bit more runny sauce than tomato sauce. And the maple syrup will give it a nice little bit of sweet flavour. And I'm just going to brush this liberally all over my pastry. I use the same base on my pizzas. If I'm making pizzas, I just find it a nice added flavour instead of just straight tomato sauce. Make sure you get it around the edges because, or especially along the top, because that's going to be where we're going to seal it. And as you can see, that was plenty. Okay, now this is where you can get a little bit creative or inventive as to your own personal tastes. Being savoury, you could put all kinds of things on here. But I am going to start with my onion and just sprinkle it around. Just put it all on, spread it out. You want to leave about an inch at the top with no filling on it, because as I said, that's where you're going to seal it at the end. Spread it out, because otherwise it's going to be too much onion all in one spot. Next I'm going to put my, next I'm going to put some pesto on. You can put some pesto on, you can put some spinach on, you could put some thawed frozen spinach on, or you could cook your spinach and lay that on. Just for a little bit of difference, making it a little bit more savoury, I'm just going to put some dots of pesto on. Not too much, but it adds to the finished off colour as well. It gives it a nice nutty texture. And that's probably plenty. Now, next I'm going to put my bacon on. Spreading it out. I've got plenty of bacon here, so can be quite liberal with it. You could use chopped ham, or salami, or any other kind of cold cut meat, really. Actually, that was quite a bit of bacon. Goodness. I also have I've chopped up some sliced cherry tomatoes. You could use sun-dried tomatoes, but I have these in the fridge, so I'm going to use them. I haven't done too many, not as much as the bacon. And last but not least, I have 1.5 cups of grated cheese here. We used Edam cheese, but you can use whatever cheese you like. Even feta cheese would be fine. And I'm going to put that over quite liberally. I'm going to leave a little bit of my 1.5 cups to put on the top as well. So I don't want to use it all in the middle. So it pretty much looks like a pizza. Now comes the fun bit. I'm going to take it from the edge and turn the bottom into the centre. Now this is where it could become a little tricky, but with a little patience you can get it going. So I've turned the bottom over and very gently roll it. Push my bit of tomato in so it doesn't come out of the side. Just rolling it all the way to the end. Of pushing those back a little bit at the end so that I can get my nice seal at the end. Now, as you can see, that has made it quite nice and fat. So pull it out a wee bit, stretch it out a wee bit so that it's fairly even, not bulky in the middle. You can see that it's starting to split a little bit there, but that's okay. It's not completely separating and you're going to cut it anyway. Back to put some flour on my fingers would help probably. There we go. Now back to our tin. Serrated knife. I'm going to cut it in half. Just gently. And then I'm going to cut each half in half again. Got any big chunky bits in there, just be careful to slice them, push them into whichever half you want to go to. One bit over here will be easier, and stretch it out a little. And that quarter, basically, I'm going to get 3 out of it. So, 1, just gently put your fingers so that it doesn't separate too much. You don't want your filling to come out. Tip it up on its side and pop it into your tin. Now they're going to spread out, so you don't want to have them too close together. And of course the end is a little bit smaller on the other end, so we'll put that end down on the bottom. And I'm going to do that with each quarter. This is the one that was a little bit, that's better. So I might just give that a little roll, just so that that closes up better. It was just coming apart in the middle. Pull it out a little so that I can get the 3 out of it. So, one. 2 and 3. Turn it on its side, which means you get a bit more flour on the bottom, stop it from coming too much apart, and pop it in. And we'll see how much room we've got as we go. That's the one that was falling apart a little bit, but as you can see it's fine, and as it cooks it'll expand anyway, and it's going to be bang on next to the others anyway, so it will won't be a problem. Here's my other half. Oops, tomato coming out. Chop it in half. Which makes it into my 2 quarters. Thin it out a little so that we can get 3. Oops, I've lost a bit of bacon there. Stick it back in. That's fine. A little bit tricky, but with practice, it's not an issue. Squish it together. These are going to be reasonably big, so we're going to push them together. You've still got a bit of space to move around and expand. Push my tomato back in. And we're going to have another 3 there, so we have to make sure that we can get them all in. Last quarter. that's my other end, so we'll put that end piece down. And as you can see, you have to move them around, jiggle a wee bit to get them all in. There we are, all tucked into my tin. And they've still got some room in between and around the sides to expand out a little bit. Now the other half of my, or not half, but the other small portion of my cheese is going on the top. And I'm going to pop them in the oven, and I will check them after about 20 minutes. Could well take a bit longer, but I will check them after 20. Okay, ready to go. My tray is in the middle, my rack rather is in the middle, and I have it on fan bake. And I'm going to put the timer on for 20 minutes. And then we'll come back and check it. I've just taken them out of the oven, and you can see they're all nice and brown around the edges and all the cheese is melted and everything. And I'm now going to leave them cold before I take them out. So, well, not cold, but warm. I did, however, cook them for about 40 to 45 minutes. I did check them after 20, they were nowhere near done. So I've left them a lot longer. So you just need to, if you're unsure, pull one apart and take it out. And you can see it's all nicely, should be nicely brown, firm, brown on the bottom. I just don't want to touch that too much because it's pretty hot. But yeah, so normally I would leave it, as I say, to cool down a little bit. Flip it onto a plate, just straight onto a plate, just like put the plate on and then flip it over, and then put another plate on and flip it up the right way. And then you can just pull it apart to eat it. So there you go. I've just flipped my scones out by putting a plate on top of the tin and flipping it over and then putting another plate on top of the plate. So I've flipped it over again so it's right side up. So I would just pop that out on the table and people can just pull them out to share, to eat.